All right, we got Nancy Long here. She wants to be the mayor of the city of South Daytona. So, Nancy, give us a little stump speech.
Okay, little stump speech. Well, basically, I've lived in South Daytona for over 46 years. I love the city. I moved there because of the friendly small town atmosphere, the parks. I just love the town. And our kids were involved with athletics. I served on the Park and Rec Board for over 10 years because we really needed to fix up the parks and improve the athletic programs. And then I ran for council, so I served on council for 13 years. And then I did retire 2 years ago. I knew that Joe Yarborough was going to be leaving, and I highly recommended the new city manager that we now have, Les Gillis. But after 13 years, frankly, my husband really wanted to travel a little bit. Our son's
Your
now
current husband.
My current husband of 48 years.
All
yes,
right.
I think I'll probably stay. I can't believe he stuck with me this long, but it's really incredible. But yeah, so then we really did do a lot of travel. Our son is stationed. They have him now in Malaysia. 2 little grandkids, 3 and 4 years old.
Now, didn't your kids go to Notre Dame?
Yes, they did, yes.
And so what's he do in Malaysia?
He's a foreign policy expert. He works for the embassy.
Remember I told you we should hook him up one day with Stanley Escudero.
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know if he ever called Stanley or not, but I do know that, so they've sent him all around the world, basically, which is great for us because wherever he goes, usually, unless it's a war zone, we can go. So it's been, really great. When he was in Pakistan, we weren't allowed to visit there. But anyway, so I had no plans of basically returning to politics. But when we returned from Malaysia at the end of March, and I'll tell you, we got out just in time before the pandemic hit. And then I started to get a lot of phone calls from even business owners and local residents. And people were just telling me, the last 2 years, they're not happy with what's been going on in a way. And they wanted me to run. So at their request, I decided to go ahead and run for mayor. And that's what I'm doing now. And I would say that basically it's really going to be a different leadership style. Our city, our charter states that the city manager runs the city. And then the city council, they work together to advise the city manager. But the mayor does not run the city. And so, this is, I think the leadership style presently is just not, it seems like it's not as friendly as it used to be.
Okay.
And that's really my main premise. A lot of changes that were made after when I left, and then Joe Yarborough did retire. Finally, Joe was in like so many years, and we had discussions. I really encouraged him. I remember, Joe, you're the highest paid employee that we have, and you've been here for so many years. So he did retire, and then Les Gillis did get in. Very happy with that. But there's just been some things going on that the people have informed me. For instance, I had with the people with companies, they talk about the code enforcement. It's sporadic or maybe not evenly done, but the rules sometimes are such that one guy told me that he was moving his business, keeping it in the city, but there were so many demands put on that he almost was thinking about leaving our city. I have talked to some people that said it's just the building inspection and the code enforcement is so strict they don't even want to do work in South Daytona. And then residents, I've heard stories that are almost comical about, it's just sort of a lack of common sense. Now, I did talk to our city manager and, like he said, here's the rules. He is all for transparency and enforcing the rules, and I can agree with that. But I also, like I've told him, I said, well, maybe it's time that we really need to review some of the rules to make it more business-friendly and resident-friendly. So those are some of the things that we've been talking about. Another thing, the athletic program. We used to have the best athletic program actually in the area. I talked to some parents. They would bring their kids from DeLand to participate in our programs. There were problems with it, And what the city manager did, and I think it was with a big influence from the city council, and I know it was to save money, but they had let go 8 of our highest paying, longest term employees. The problem was, I understand that these were the highest paid, and they probably should have been let go. Some of them were over 30 years. 2 of them were really close to 30 years. But I guess it was the way it was done. And it was not like our friendly usual city. It was more like, walk in, your job's eliminated, pack up, we'll help you to your car. And as a result, there are 2 lawsuits against our city for that. So, I guess to me, it's just, it could have been handled in a friendlier, kinder way.
Right.
And that, that's just the feeling that I have. It's really interesting because I've been getting a lot of phone calls. In my flyer, I put my phone number out. I have it on my website, and people have been calling me. And I mean, already there's, I feel like I'm helping a lot of people, and it's so nice because I get along so well with our present city manager. I'll just call Les and say, hey, this guy called me and we have a problem with a plaque that used to be at the park. And so we get along well. And they fired the whole department, actually, the park and rec, the athletic department. We really lost 2 of our best grant writers, but I realized they were doing it for the budget. But they did bring in 2 very good workers. And I think the athletic department now, Tim Devine, and I totally support this. Tim is going to be running. He's going to try to revamp it. I talked to the city manager, and the biggest complaint that I had from parents when they called was that the travel teams had been eliminated. And they eliminated the Babe Ruth, the competition. And so I really think, and the city manager agreed, that even the travel teams could be brought back. We could continue to expand our athletic programs. We do want them tightly supervised, very well managed, because things were getting a little bit loose, if you know what I mean.
I used to go to a Native Plant Society meeting. Are there baseball fields behind the Pickett Center?
Yeah, right near there, off of James Street.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's further down. Well, there was something back there that I used to go to a native plant meeting, not the Pickett Center, but somewhere else down there.
That little building, yeah.
Yeah, and it was hell to get a parking space.
Yeah.
So it was very popular. Mm-hmm. And now it's not quite so popular.
Well, naturally, too, with the virus, it's been diminished.
Right.
But they totally, in the middle of the season, they just cut out the travel ball. And really, if travel ball, I just would really like to see it brought back to our city. Because from, my daughter, she did the travel softball in the summer. They get so much good experience, and it led to her actually to be named the All-Star for the state of Florida. And then she actually, got the scholarship to Notre Dame. And I know that we have 2 professional baseball players that have come up through that program. And we have several of our residents, our students, that were able to get scholarships. So there's value in it. And I do think, as I said, I talked to the city manager about it. I would like to see that brought back, well managed. Everything has to be supervised. But we've had over 700 children in our athletic programs. And I truly believe that Tim Devine will do a good job, but we need to keep expanding those programs and making sure the quality's good. If you keep kids busy, they stay out of trouble.
How's the police and fire department doing?
We have the new chief, Mark Cheatham, and I actually talked to him a few days ago. People have been sending me really good questions and, concerns. And we talked about how are the police handling the pandemic. And I also talked to the fire chief, but all of them now are required to wear their masks whenever they're out in public or getting close to people. Naturally, when they're on call, they wear their masks. Chief Cheatham said that...
where did he come from?
He was actually, he born and raised in our city. He's been with the city for many, many years.
Yeah.
So he came up through the ranks.
See, so I got his name over here. That's why I didn't read it when I read the rest of it.
Oh, mm-hmm.
And so he's your police chief and you like him.
Present police chief, yeah.
Okay.
So they put him in. And then our fire chief now, there's been a lot of changes, like our interim police chief. He was retired, and then Mark took his place. And then we have David Giles now. He's our fire chief. And I talked
Is he related to the Giles Electric people?
I don't think he is.
All right.
Yeah, I've known him for years, and I did commend him because he did write a grant. And ours was the only fire department, understand, in the state of Florida to get a grant to get a new fire truck. So that's highly commendable. And this, I know Dave puts in a lot of hours above and beyond. All of our people do that work there. Our employees love the city. And that's why I just want to make sure that they're not intimidated or worried about their jobs. And they need to be treated with respect. And they do some of them have 21 years. When you put 30 years into a city, you love it. So,
right. It seemed to me, though, you're fond of the manager, but the manager's their boss, no?
Yes. Well, yeah. And here's the way I understand what's going on is that, as I said, the mayor does not run the city. The city manager is supposed to run it.
Right.
And I think that the city manager has a lot of good ideas, but there's just seems to be a lot of influence, maybe a little bit of stepping over the line. For instance, even with some of the firings, there was, and you can request the audio, but the November 12th meeting in 2019, that's when they were investigating the athletic department in Park and Rec, and there was an audit done at that meeting. I would say that there were accusations made, and it was not pleasant. And I don't think it's anything that should have been done from the public dais, at a council meeting. As a result, there were accusations of malfeasance and misfeasance, and it was really, really. I thought it was over the border as far as. A gory meeting. Yes, it was. And then when the mayor just pretty much turned to the city manager and says, well, you better handle this, or you know what to do, or something. So the mayor's trying to rule the city. Yes. So Hall's his name. Yes, Bill Hall. I know him, but I basically never talked to him. He seems grumpy. Is he grumpy? How's the word to say it? I'm trying to be always positive. As a ex-police chief, I would say that he does have, that demeanor, a little bit intimidating, which is why I think I've been getting phone calls more because people seem to think that I'm more approachable and maybe friendlier. Right. And that's the kind of mayor I would like to be. I think that's what we need in our city. Like Mayor Piggott. Remember Coach Piggott? I know him well. All right. And my gosh. You never could call him and not get a 15-minute lecture, right? Exactly. And he loved the city. And I'll tell you, when people moved in, he would go and welcome them. Right. And anytime, and this is one thing I'll say about Joe Yarborough. We're talking about real old world stuff, aren't we? Yes, we are. Let me just push a button real quick.
The Big Talker, WELE, Ormond Beach.
We're talking to Nancy Long, and she wants to be the next mayor of the city of South Daytona. Now, how many people's in the race?
There's 2.
Now, do you go on August 18th,
yes,
or do you go in November? August
18th is the deciding day.
All right. So how do you get your word out? That's what's so hard, Big.
Before, when I had gotten elected, you knock on the door, you talk to the people, you hand them their flyer. This is really a difficult campaign. I'm a little bit introverted anyway, so I knock on the doors, but I'm wearing my mask, but I'm afraid to actually knock on the door because people don't want to come. Right. So I'm distributing my flyers. I'm so glad you let me come on the radio show, and I did a mailer, and I mean, but it's really difficult. People are afraid. And even when I walk around with my flyers, and if somebody's outside, you can just see, like, sort of stand back or whatever.
Right.
It's because of the virus. So it really is making it difficult.
My favorite employee in South Daytona, I've never said this on the radio. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Patty Rippey.
Oh, yes, Patty.
Is she still there?
Yes, she is. Yes, she's a
'Cause
sweetheart.
if they mess around with her, that would really... I tried to get Joe Forte to hire her in Holly Hill because she's so delightful.
Oh, I'm glad that you didn't succeed because, Patty's a delight. And, when I was there on council too, the city, it was like, even with the employees, like a family.
Right.
And Joe was hard to work for. I mean, he could be pretty crabby.
He didn't speak English. That was the big deal.
He was demanding, but even then, I mean, he treated people, I think, fairly. And I just think that there's a feeling now that, I mean, I've had people that I've worked with for 13 years down there, and they're afraid to talk to me because they're worried about their job.
Right.
And it just doesn't, it shouldn't be that way. That's how I feel.
All right. So I want to tell people, because maybe you're not going to tell them, I don't know. You've been running Lillian Place in the Hotchkiss house for a long time, haven't you?
Yes, 14 years. I started the group, and, all the volunteers working together, But
you put in a lot of hours?
Oh, yes. I'm president still, and I do write the grants. Being a retired English professor, I do like to write, and I sure write the grants. And right now it's even more important. We've been closed since the beginning of March. We found major problems with wood rot and damage, and we had to replace the roofs, which actually worked out okay because we had to be closed for the virus anyway. But the repairs are still ongoing. And then every time we think, well, we could have a tea or something. But, the Hotchkiss house, 1905 house, if you have a tea and you're having mostly ladies that are over 65 years old and such, it's really hard to space. And by the time you try to space everybody out, you're having so few people come that it's not worth having the event.
Right.
So we're in a bind.
You should get some special recognition for a zillion hours that you put into those two places, right?
Yeah. Well,
now on the bad side, you guys spent millions of dollars on Ridgewood. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you were on the... Yeah. I guess you were. Mm-hmm. And this was Yarborough, and it's very pretty. But I don't think you gained one lousy business.
No, and almost all of that money was grant money that had been gotten in.
CRA money.
And CRA money,
right.
but a lot of grants. And that, I mean, I know, we really had two key grant writers that brought in millions of dollars. Unfortunately, they were the two of them were let go. So, but I
don't understand that. Do you think the manager was told to let them go?
I would say that that's what I've been told.
Okay. Yeah. Because you never get rid of your grant writer. You got to be mentally ill to get rid of a grant writer, right?
Well, and like I said, these people that were let go, that they were the highest paid. And I see the logic maybe behind it because I know that our present council, it's like the big thing is we have to build up the emergency fund, build up the water bill, for instance. Now, when I was on council, we would do incremental increases. We buy our water from Daytona Beach.
Right.
And I guess we did get to the point, we're paying more from getting the water from Daytona Beach than what we were charging our residents. Now, we kept doing incremental increases, and I agree with that because I figure I don't want to burden people too much. And then before I left council, we did ask for a water audit. So we had a company come in, and I did look at that report. And yes, I could see where there did have to be a rate increase, but and I did tell, talking to the city manager, I probably would have made it a little smaller, a smaller increment. For instance, I think our residents are going to have sticker shock when they see these bills coming in because for 3,000 gallons a month, it's a $13 increase. And, some of our families are, So that you multiply that by 12.
It's not a rich place.
It's not. Our residents are not rich. And so that was the one thing that I thought if I had been on council, I would have requested a smaller increment. I know we have to increase it, but I just hate to burden our poor residents.
One big bite at a time. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, well.
All right. So, but I mean, I think you did a beautiful job on half of Ridgewood Avenue, right?
Yes.
And it netted no results. I mean, not your fault, but I think US 1 is dead.
And that's another thing people, when people called me, we have so many vacancies.
Right.
And again,
And you do. You have a lot of vacancies, right?
We do. And I strongly believe in infill. I know all our cities can expand all around us, and I hate that. It's urban sprawl. But we have areas that we can do infill. And I know even before I retired 2 years ago, there were some projects coming down the line, and some of them are coming in. But
we got the big apartment complex, right?
Yeah,
on the south end of town.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And but as I talk to different businesses and contractors, that's the same thing I hear is that the code building inspection and the code enforcement is just not really common sense, and it discourages, I think, developers or businesses from coming into our city.
Right.
So,
well, I guarantee you, Holly Hill, there was a guy there by the name of Tim Harbuck who was the chief and only building official, and he made a living off Daytona Beach. At one point years ago, I checked to find out how many businesses in the city of Holly Hill first name Daytona. 44. Pictona, this big pickleball court, which may be the biggest thing that's ever happened on US 1 in anywhere in Volusia County, right? In the last 50 years.
Right.
They're there because they wanted to be in Daytona. And they couldn't get a conversation started. The rum guy on Mason Avenue that makes the rum, he's there because he couldn't be in Daytona Beach, right? So Holly Hill makes a living off of Daytona's
rejects.
Yeah, arrogance, right?
Yeah.
And these are good businesses. Those people at Pictona put in $5 million of their own money. I mean, a big deal. Let's take a phone call. Hi, you're in a big house.
Hey, there's Jim. Just curious. I was thinking that you actually got your water from Port Orange, but
No.
Daytona.
They've always gotten it from Daytona.
Yeah, well, no, I'm curious if Daytona's ever mentioned to you that they're not adding the fluoride anymore because they can't get the right stuff.
Do they add fluoride? Do you care?
I think, they do.
Jim says
no,
they don't.
Oh, they don't. They
stopped
used
like
to.
16 months ago because product and the specifications.
Right.
I'm just curious.
I'd hate to have to buy my water from Daytona.
We have no choice, I guess, from our
you've
city.
Been doing it for a long time.
Daytona's going to have to buy it from Ormond Beach, with Victoria Station there.
Anything
at no raised fee.
Well, Avalon Park will do a lot better than South Daytona.
Sorry. Yeah, Avalon Park. I got the name wrong.
Right. I got to run, Jim. Run out of time.
Thanks, babe.
Bye now. Bye. All right. So, how can we help you?
Well, I guess it's as I said, it's really hard to get out there and campaign. You've helped a lot just letting me talk on the radio today.
My pleasure. You're a hard-working woman. I've known you I knew you since you were young, right?
Yes.
And
many years.
I was in your house one day. I don't remember why I was there, but your husband was there, so that was okay. and you're a lovely, hardworking person. And so you tell me there's something broken in South Daytona, I believe there's something broken in South Daytona. And a couple times I tried. I'm not Mr. Personality. And, I could give a damn whether the people like me or not. But I did try to have a little conversation or something like that with Hall once or twice at the round table. And there was nothing doing, although I have a friend that's a friend of his. But I've basically never spoken to him. I know that he was on the First Step Shelter Board and he dropped off of there. Yeah. I cannot fault him for that one. That thing was a mess. But at any rate, maybe how long's he been mayor?
4 years now.
So is this every 4 years, this election?
Yes. So he's up again. Yep.
So we want to support you because you're a good person, and I know you have the city at heart and the people that live in the city at heart. I know you fight for the underdog. And I know that code enforcement and building permits can be a pain in the butt, and they can destroy development in your city. And when some guy wants to move from one location in the city to another location in the city, if he's a sane human being, then you better be listening when he's telling you, maybe I have to move outside. Right. And you can tell him move to Holly Hill, and I'll make sure Forte treats him well. You know what I mean?
Well, we sure don't want to lose many.
Well, will your city manager go visit this guy?
Yes, I think he would.
Well, you got to get on him.
Yep.
And you got to say, you better go see this guy or you're going to lose a damn business, and you can't afford to lose a business, right?
Well, that's it. And like I've been talking to some residents, like one fella had his house for sale, and he just said he's had it. He's so sick of, code enforcement. And,
right.
And, we do need the codes. We want our city to be high quality.
Right.
But I think we just need to revamp them or review them and just make them more common sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I know we have a friend that I used to have on the radio once a month, and she had more than one problem with South Daytona. So, I mean, I think it's really important how you enforce the codes and if the codes are common sense,
Exactly. And the final big problem also in our city is our school. South Daytona Elementary has been the last 2 years, it's been ranked with a D. And I did call the new principal just June 1st. Greg Schwartz has been named as the new principal there. And I talked to him because, I have been a teacher for 34 years. And we talked about ideas that we can actually help improve the city. Even somebody wrote me like an email. Sometimes those emails can be nasty, but I know the county runs the school, but the city can surely be a good support for it, even if it means we, get volunteers together. I know a couple years ago, I had a group of friends, retired professors, right. And we offered to go in to South Daytona and help, but the principal at that time never got back to us.
Right.
Where I feel like this person, Greg Schwartz, sounds like he's a dynamic person, but we need to do things to build that school up because
that's one thing Joe Forte in Holly Hill does. He's very supportive of the school, and Holly Hill School ain't any better than South Daytona School, right? So the only thing is we got snake bit. They had to hide Derrick Henry somewhere, and they hid him at the Holly Hill School, right? So, that was sort of bad luck. Let's take one last phone call. Hi, you're in the big house.
Hey, Big, this is PCR. How are you?
Good.
I'm going to put out a name that's going to I don't know if the mayor-elect would like to answer on Timothy Kaufman.
Oh, okay.
And ma'am, you don't need to answer. I think that, it's obvious that there was a situation there that's being compared to a national event that's taking place that I don't know how.
Is this the guy with the knee on his neck?
Yes, it's the white gentleman in South Daytona that passed away.
Right.
Evidently, Benjamin Crump is going to sue the city for. I don't know. It's just very uncomfortable.
It is.
I commend Miss Long for being willing to run in a time when things are as uncomfortable as they are, and when we do need strong leaders to run our cities. But that's going to be a tough situation, I believe.
Well, that is the third lawsuit against our city, and I think that goes back 5 years ago. I did talk to our former police chief about that.
It was 2 years ago, ma'am.
How many? Oh, 2 years? Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought I saw it on TV. Yeah, this person, this Kaufman, he had such a record, and it's really unfortunate because honest to Pete, we need to thank God for our policemen that we do have today. That's such a tough job. And in that situation, you could see where this guy was so high on drugs, biting the finger, fighting, attacking. I mean, it was really awful. And you're right. It could turn into a messy lawsuit situation. I do know that our present police chief, I talked to him, and they are, they're taking all measures to make sure that our police are trained. We need to have, for sure, this neck hold or whatever that they have now, that's outlawed. The chokehold.
Kneeling on somebody's neck.
Yes, and I really want to push for sensitivity training and such, too, that our police need to have better training in how to de-escalate some of these situations. We have, we've just... And
I do believe that in this area, and Big would, excuse me for interrupting.
No, go ahead.
I believe Big would agree that in our area, we do have the training, but with the drugs that are on our streets right now, Miss Long, there is a time where, there becomes a time where the safety of others is much more paramount than the safety of the person that is using those drugs, abusing those drugs, and finding themselves in a place where they don't even know where they are.
Yes, I know. And like I said, this particular situation, they showed it on TV. And this guy was just berserk. Right. And it's so unfortunate because those policemen that we have are the finest. They're well trained. And that situation, though, you're right. I mean, what the heck do you do? And then they're going to make it. Oh, go ahead.
BCR, I got to go.
BCR, Big, I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Give us a stump speech because we're out of time.
Okay, well, I will be walking the neighborhood still. I'll be putting flyers on people's doors. My phone number, and I'll give it 386-299-4974. If any of you have concerns or positive ideas that I can try to, talk about and how we could make our city, again, more friendly, I would appreciate it. I'm open. I was like that when I was on council, approachable, and I will always try to help. I love the city and I love the residents, and I will try to help people any way that I can as mayor.
Nancy Long wants to be the next mayor of the city of South Daytona. Her phone number is 299-4974. What's Long NZ mean?
That I have, actually I changed my website. I also have a website and people can get on and email
Nancy
me.
for Mayor.
Yeah, Nancy. Yeah, nancyformayor.com.
All right, Nancy, that's simple. And I support you.
Well, thank you very much, Big.
All right. I'll be right back. Thank you, Nancy.